What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the chronically charismatic Dr. Disaster. And for some reason, the folks over at Lucasfilm have just got it into their heads that if they just try the same thing over and over again, that eventually it's gonna work, and they're gonna start making money.
And what some people call mentally retarded.
Star Wars The Skeleton Crew had its 2-episode premiere last week, and to celebrate that fact, Lucasfilm decided to do what they certainly do better than making movies and TV shows. They got their actors to blame everyone else for their failure, calling all Star Wars fans a whole bunch of names. Now, there are a lot of great ones in their greatest hits of smears that they like to aim at Star Wars fans, but they went with the tried and true old classic and they called us racists because The Acolyte failed so hard.
Your booze mean nothing. I've seen what makes you cheer.
Well, by all accounts, The Skeleton Crew is a much better show than The Acolyte. Not that it takes much. It sounds an awful lot, though, like a situation very similar to Andor, a show that was pretty good, but because of the Star Wars franchise being attached to it, nobody cared. That is such a far cry from the way things used to work, where slapping the Star Wars label on something just about guaranteed that it would be a success. But in any event, the first of the numbers for the TV ratings of The Skeleton Crew are starting to come in, and things aren't looking very good for Lucasfilm, to the point where Disney should realistically start thinking about an escape plan on this franchise.
Evacuate? In our moment of triumph?
Yeah, the triumphant days of Star Wars are long behind us, and if we compare the results for the first week of The Skeleton Crew to the first week of the older Disney Plus shows from the franchise, well, there's a reason that we're hearing that advertisers are starting to pull out of Disney Plus. If Disney won't abandon the madness of putting out Kathleen Kennedy's rendition of this franchise, the advertisers certainly will abandon it, because these viewership numbers are atrocious for a brand new Star Wars show being released in a winter month. I know that all the Disney defenders are anxious for me to drop those numbers so they can try to think of some way to spin it in some kind of a weird, positive light, but I think we're just going to have to wait until after the break. What do you guys think?
For God's sakes, just give me the damn number!
Don't get excited.
Alright, me hearties, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and also, I invite you to stop on by my Teespring store and pick up this new design for a shirt with the modern audience on the side of a milk carton, because of course, they never show up even though everything is made for them these days. I have a link in the description of the video for my Teespring store. But anyways, let's talk about how the viewership for The Skeleton Crew is absolutely bloody awful. So first of all, let's get full context. We're going to use data from a relatively new analytics site called Luminate. Their tracking is very similar to Nielsen, and it appears to be just as reliable, but what's more important is that it comes out about a month earlier. Nielsen usually only releases their data about 30 days after a particular week, so Luminate has been gaining a lot of traction by being timely. With that in mind, here is the data for the first week of The Acolyte from this summer, which was by far the worst viewing figures that we had seen for a live-action Star Wars show in the history of Disney+. It was only the 9th most watched show on TV that week, coming in with approximately 210 million minutes watched. Now, for further perspective, there were only 77 minutes worth of content available to watch, so if we divide the 210 million minutes by the runtime, we get something in the neighborhood of 2,725,000 viewers of The Acolyte. Now, if you look at this first week of data from the Skeleton Crew's release, what do you notice? You can look up and down that list all you want, but Star Wars doesn't even show up. It failed to crack the top 10. Now, it is possible that the show actually still did better than The Acolyte, since the lowest rated show for this week that appears on Luminate in the top 10, the lowest show had 332 million minutes watched, which is a far cry better than The Acolyte did in its first week. But even if we assume that Skeleton Crew only got beat out by a hair, and we assume that they got 331 million minutes watched, which is doubtful, but if we divide that 331 million by the runtime of the show's first 2 episodes that released last week, that means at best they had about 4,140,000 viewers or thereabouts. Now, prior to the release of The Acolyte this summer, Ahsoka was the least viewed Star Wars show. In its first week, according to Nielsen here, because Luminate didn't exist when this show released, but according to Nielsen, the show got 829 million minutes watched. The runtime for the first 2 episodes that were released that week was 96 minutes. So, if we divide the minutes watched by runtime, we can see that for Ahsoka, they had over 8.5 million people watching the show. This means that this year, that in 2024, the best case scenario for the viewing figures of Star Wars shows that they have lost over half the audience from the previous year. So once again, it's no wonder that we are hearing that some of the advertisers are pulling out of Disney Plus now. This article here comes to us from That Park Place, and it says, Disney Plus is facing significant challenges as advertisers reportedly pull their campaigns from the platform. The streaming service's original content has failed to meet the impression thresholds outlined in ad contracts, creating dissatisfaction among advertisers. The ad-supported tier of Disney Plus was intended to solve the company's streaming challenges. However, low audience engagement with major Star Wars and Marvel shows has led to below-average impressions. In response, Disney is reportedly trying to shift advertisers to broadcast television in an effort to retain their business and avoid costly refunds. This issue came to light in a recent video by the Valiant Renegade. Valiant, joined by Kiss My Grits, an advertising professional speaking anonymously, provided insight into Disney's struggles. Basically, what's happening with Disney Plus is struggling right now to fulfill the obligations that it's promising to its advertisers. And what I mean by that is whenever you agree to advertise on a platform like Disney Plus, you're always guaranteed a certain amount of impressions. Well, Disney Plus is struggling to fulfill the obligations that they have been promising, so they're under-delivering by vast amounts on several of the campaigns that are running on the platform. And as a result of what is happening is the advertisers are obviously not very happy, and so they're pulling money from those campaigns. They're saying, all right, if you're not meeting the delivery that you promised me, I'm placing that money elsewhere. KMG further explained that advertisers have lost faith in Disney Plus as a platform and are redirecting their ad dollars to cable and broadcast networks. So, like I said at the top of the video, now would be a pretty good time to panic if you were Disney. I mean, here we have a show in The Skeleton Crew that sounds pretty good. People are reviewing it highly on Rotten Tomatoes and everything, but apathy has kicked in to such a degree that still nobody is watching it. As I've said before, apathy is the killer of these franchises. That's why Lucasfilm tries so hard to agitate us. They want to be talked about, because controversy and creating a climate of friction is all they have left to get people's attention. But I'm going to leave it there. Drop your mockery of Disney and Star Wars and Kathleen Kennedy and all of those people into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching me, Hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.